You know, for a game that's accused of being only investors, Flesh and Blood's player base has been growing rapidly in the past several months. And I wanted to know why people have been getting into Flesh and Blood. What introduced them to the game, what they liked, and why they played. So I went to the most sane, rational, and peaceful site on the internet. No, I'm just screwing with you. I went to Reddit. So I went to the Reddit and I asked people, what got you into this game? Why are you playing Flesh and Blood? And I actually got a lot more comments than I thought I was going to. So I have printed out some of my favorite comments because I'm an absolute boomer, but I will be throwing them up on the screen as I talk so you can read them too. I will also link the Reddit in the description if you would like to go and read them for yourselves. It's actually really nice to read through the comments and see why people are playing the game. So the first person we got here is actually a board gamer. They say they've always enjoyed competitive LCGs and wanted a new game. But with no LCGs around, aside from Ashes, which didn't really appeal to them, they took a shot at Fab. So they said that they liked that it was new and you didn't need to learn a whole backlog of the game, and that's actually really important. It's very easy to get into Flesh and Blood right now. And then they say they actually like the fact that heroes grind down in power as the game goes on, so you use up your resources rather than building up to it. They say it's a lot more interactive and you don't really get the chance to create an overpowered engine that just takes over the game. And then they say that they actually like first edition because they can sell some of the first edition cards that are worth a lot to fund getting into Unlimited in order to keep playing, which is actually something I also like about this game. And then next we have somebody who says that they actually haven't played a TCG before, which is very, very interesting. And then a friend of theirs tried to get them into Magic. They didn't really want to, but they also mentioned Flesh and Blood. And then one day at their LGS, they saw these pre-made Blitz decks and figured, we'll pick them up, and the rest was history. And then they fell in love with the game and with the art of the game, especially for Prism's cards, because her cards are just mwah! And apparently this individual's already spent about $300 on the game in just a few weeks. And I'm sorry to tell you, it only gets worse from here. It only gets a lot worse from here. Enjoy. You're gonna love it and hate it. All right, and then we also have a comment, and I saw this a couple times, is somebody basically saying the competitive play. That's it. This game has competitive play. I want to play competitively, so I'm getting into this game because I love to compete. And that is one of the best things about Flesh and Blood. It is very, very competitive. It's still very open to casual players, but being at its core a competitive game is Flesh and Blood's biggest strength. And then again, we get the sentiment that people just love the art of this game, but also it's new enough that you can start collecting the earliest stuff now, right? I own, not a ton, but I own a handful of alpha cards. I have some Majestics, a few super rares, and then a bunch of commons and rares that I've been purchasing and I've been collecting, and I couldn't do that with Magic. I wasn't even alive when Magic started, alright? The game is older than I am. There was no way I was gonna own any alpha cards, but with this game, I can, and I think that's really cool, and so do a lot of other people. And here we go, the first one in all of these comments, and honestly the only one. I'm an investor and was looking for things to hedge from inflation. So I started to look into collectibles originally and started with Pokemon until somebody talked about Fab and how great it was, because this game is the greatest game in the world. I will die on that hill. This game is #1. So they started with Crew First Edition since the Welcome to Wraith and Art boxes were a little out of their price range, and then they started to buy Unlimited boxes just to open them and see what they were like. So I'm assuming that they were just buying sealed product, and then they finally decided, I'll buy a couple Unlimited and just actually see what the game is like. And then they built a basic deck to play with their brother and fell in love with it. It's the first TCG they've actually played and they just love it. So here we have somebody who did get into Flesh and Blood as an investing standpoint, right? The people that everyone says this is all Flesh and Blood comprises of. And now they're a player because they tried the game out. Like honestly, the fact that this game can take people who just only want to make money off of it and get them to love it as a game, that's impressive. That's genuinely impressive. And then we got my favorite comment. It's, hey, is this the Sloopdoop? If so, love your content. Yes, it is, and thank you. And I didn't realize when I was replying to this comment, but as I was going back to gather them for this video, I realized, is this the Fabled Hunters? Is this you, Saint Nada? I assume only one of you, whomever it is. I'm gonna guess Saint. I love your content too. Okay, so I am assuming that this is Saint. So he says, I disliked WotC's betrayal of their loyal fan base that supported them from the inception of the 2000s and had enough of alienating LGSs with removing MSRP. That's a very good reason for leaving. If you've been loyal to a company for so many years, like for instance, if LSS 15 years down the road, let's say, starts treating people like garbage, you're gonna see people leave this game too, no matter how good it is. If you treat your customers like crap, if you treat the people who are your pillars like crap, they're gonna leave. They deserve better than that. Don't forget your roots. And then he bought as much Welcome to Wraith Alpha as he could get a hold of, and now he collects and plays as much as he can, and he created a channel. I will link that down below if you want to go check it out. It's a lot bigger than mine, but if you haven't heard of him or haven't watched his stuff, I highly recommend it. This guy is like Rudy. He's worked to have what he's got. Honestly, he's the kind of guy that I look up to. All right, so naturally following that, we also have Rudy. There were a lot of comments about Rudy, him talking about Fab, him doing the Welcome to Wraith Alpha promos, you know, people being annoyed at his videos for a while about Flesh and Blood and thinking they were dumb. And then when people actually sat down and watched one, especially, and as this person says, the interview with James White, they actually decided to give Flesh and Blood a go. And I will actually say that was part of my decision to get into this game too. And then a lot of people said the Professor, and it was actually him saying he got a spoiler card for Monarch that got me to actually look at Flesh and Blood, which led me to watching the interview videos I just talked about, which then led me into trying the game, and well, here we are. Now I have this channel and I'm absolutely loving the game and making videos. And then we've got the most important comment. I got interested when I saw Prism. I see you too are a man of culture. I collect waifu cards from all TCGs, even obscure ones. That is weird but impressive. Kudos to you. Good luck. I have multiple copies of Prism in non-foil, rainbow foil, and cold foil. I personally also love Prism. She's here on the shelf actually, so I don't blame you. Prism is a fantastic reason to get into this game. It really feels like there are a lot of things that are bringing people into Flesh and Blood. Some people are disgruntled Magic players like myself. There were a few Pokemon players that just decided to try the game. Some people just chanced upon it. Other people got influence from content creators online. And some other people just wanted to play a competitive game. And since Magic is no longer really supporting competitive play, Flesh and Blood was there to fill the void. And quite frankly, I think that's a really good thing for the world of TCGs. I genuinely feel like Flesh and Blood is going to spearhead the trading card game world into the future. I mean, this game has already really shaken the foundations of TCGs. I genuinely believe we will no longer be talking about the big three. It will be the big four, with Flesh and Blood up there with the others. Maybe not as popular, but it doesn't need to be one of the big four. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Massive thanks to my patrons. If you want to join the Patreon, the link will be down below with all the other links. If you want to buy cards, if you're interested in getting into Flesh and Blood, consider using my Red Riot Games affiliate link down below and purchase yourself a couple Blitz decks. But with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.